So a lot of us have gathered here today in Plainview, Texas, here at the ISD Administration Building. A lot of horrible sexual acts have been happening with our kids. The stuff that we're going to be talking about happened at South Elementary in a first grade class with 6 and 7-year-olds. I also have heard stories of in a fourth grade class and then in another first grade class, and just accusations of not only sexual assault but bullying as well. And so I have my aunt here with me, and she's going to give y'all kind of more of a rundown of what happened in some details. It is very hard for her to talk about it because it's very emotional. This is a close family member, and she's 6 years old, like I said. This is her grandma and then our aunt, and we just kind of want to tell y'all the story of what happened. Genesis, are you okay?
Okay, so I'm a great aunt, and I just want to share that I know the school is letting on to act like if it's no big deal what happened at South Elementary School. They're just saying that it was inappropriate content viewed on YouTube, but there's a lot more than that. We have had to do a lot of digging to find out what we do know, and we're finally able to get a number for an investigator in charge of Texas. The CPS was involved. Everything was not told to us. My sister was not informed. But there has been a videotaping of sexual assault. My niece is included in that video, along with other students. Supposedly it happened in classroom, and the teacher should have been watching. I don't know where she was at. I don't know what happened, but I'm going to share a little bit about what my niece told us, because they're trying to sweep this under the rug, act like if it's no big deal, but it is, and she deserves justice. We want the teacher fired. We want the principal fired. We want administration, the administration fired, Sanchez out of office. She went home, and we were noticing a difference in her this demeanor. You know, she wasn't sleeping well. She was had bags under her eyes. She wasn't eating like she used to eat. She started peeing in the bed again. You know, just so many things. Anger. Her stomach was always hurting, and you know, after digging in, you know, we were able to get the number because you know we demanded a phone number from this investigator, and the principal finally gave us a number. We called him, and he was able to share some of what he says was on the video, but he said it included my niece performing. You know, they were forcing her. She's just a victim, and all this. They were.
All these kids are victims.
Yeah, they are. She was performing an oral act, and along with a lot of kids, you know, screaming, encouraging it, you know, shouting, "Do it, do it." She told us that, you know, they were trying to pull her underneath the table, and then she started she was hitting the little boy with her poetry book. Okay, no, she was hitting him with her poetry book, and he wouldn't stop, and then he somehow pulled her legs, and she fell to the floor, and he pulled her underneath the table, and then he started pushing her head towards his private, and I told her, "What did you do next?" And she said, "Well, I started hitting him with my hand. I kept on saying, 'Stop, stop, stop.'" And she was saying that, you know, what she said, that he kept on pulling her head towards his private, and that his penis went inside her mouth.
All under teacher supervision.
She had her headphones in.
Supposedly she was there, but Dr. Sanchez, he stated that she was wearing an earpiece because she was supposedly listening to smoothing music, calming music, and she was helping a group of kids. How in the world could this happen with a teacher in the room, supposedly? But you know, my niece says that the teacher often, she would step outside of the classroom, there's a bathroom in the room, and she would step outside of the classroom through the restroom to the other teacher's room, and they would just talk, and she would be outside her class, for time. And so, I mean, whether she was in the room or not, they were unsupervised. And I really strongly believe that if there's anyone to blame for everything that has happened, and there's now other stories that have came out, I mentioned that to Mr. Sanchez and Yesenia Pardo, and the principal, what's her name? Miss Huey, and she says there has been no complaints of any bullying, any sexual,
Any kind of
assault.
occurrences.
During the year, and that no parents have came forward. So I'm encouraging you parents, you sit your kids down and be their voice. If something has happened, I mean, yes, it's scary, but we tell our kids often, if anybody touches you in the wrong place, they do something that they're not supposed to, you speak up. But what is it good if they speak up if we're not going to be their voice, and we're not going to, stand up? We tell them to be brave, but when it's time for us to be brave, are we being brave? We know what we're up against. We know that it's a system that has hit things before. We have people telling us, people working inside the office telling us things that they have hit before. And we just want justice. Our kids deserve justice. They deserve to be safe when they go to school. We send our kids to learn, to thrive, to be safe. And what's going on? What's going inside those four walls? This school just won an award for safety. Their safety, they keep them safe from what predators coming in, but what's going on inside the classroom? Our teachers are not keeping them safe.
We always think we have to protect kids from adults, but now we obviously have to protect kids from other kids, and it's not that all these kids are victims, but you have to watch your kids even with other 6-year-olds and in the classroom where they're supposed to be safe.
And the only reason that my niece came out telling me what had happened is because I told her, I sat her down, I told her, you're safe. You might not feel safe at school, but you're safe here with us. And there's nothing you can say that we're going to hate you, we're going to blame you. That we love you no matter what you would do. I would love you through everything. And I am your voice. I'm here to speak for you. And she said, I told her, baby, they recorded you. And she said, yes, that man said that they have you on video. And I told her, that was wrong what happened to you. I want you to tell me what happened. So we sat her down, we prayed over her. We shared, things that as an adult that, sometimes happen in the workplace. So we told her, baby, we know that you're carrying too much inside. We can see it. We've seen it in her for days. And I told her, my husband told her sometimes, when you share things, we feel a lot better. Our heart could rest, and you'll be able to feel different. Because she kept on saying that she felt weird, that she was angry. And after my husband shared things, I shared things. We assured her that she was safe. That she was okay. She told us what had happened. She told us. She said yes. I did that. And she was looking down. She couldn't even look at us in our face. She couldn't even. Her eyes were just looking down. I just think this is wrong. It's wrong, and we need justice for this. I told the school, we might not have money, we might not have a title like y'all do, and you're sitting behind those desks, all educated. But what have you done to keep our kids safe? Our kids are not safe in school, and that is something that they have to follow up. They have to bring safety in school. They have to fire the teacher. They have to fire the principal. We have followed the chain of command, and we have gotten nowhere. Yes, they told us that CPS is in charge of this, but what are they going to do? What are they doing? They're not letting the parents know what happened. They're telling them, YouTube, they just got on what? And what did they say? What are they posting?
So they released a statement, but what they're trying to do is make it seem like this was an isolated event. I have 5 or 6 statements from different family members that stuff has been happening all year. Had they acted on this stuff from earlier in the year, they could have prevented what happened to my cousin.
And that's what
They're
happened.
trying to say that, you know, since CPS is investigating this case, that should be good enough. But what about all these other parents who have had stuff happen to their kids? Just because it's not to the extreme of what happened to us, there's kids who have been having to touch boys, they've been having to touch themselves. If they don't comply, they're giving them Indian burns, they're getting kids to bully them. A little boy has been taking porn to school and making all the kids watch porn. It's his dad's phone. He's wanting to have all the kids reenact what they're seeing. And so right now, I want everyone to get out their phones or a piece of paper or something. And I want everyone to call. This is State Representative Ken King. The phone number is 512-463-0736. And like I said, it's Representative Ken King, 512-463-0736. And I want everyone to tell them that they're following up on the incident that's happening at PISD. It's already going to start getting investigated by them, is what they said, but the more people that call, the better. And I know that, you know, you may not know us, you may not have kids, but we need to stand up for them, because we're telling the kids that they could come to us and trust in us, but if they tell us these stories and then we do nothing for them, then how are we going to make them feel? And it's just, the school has been lying, telling us that they're in contact with the other parents, and I have confirmation that these other parents do not know anything. They have not contacted them. The only reason these parents know anything is because I made my post on Facebook. Had I not made that, all these other parents, they still haven't heard from the school system. And they're lying. The statement that they're releasing, that Dr. Sanchez released today, he's not talking to these parents. He's not doing what needs to be done.
They're not telling them the severity of what happened.
Yes,
It's not the first time that he's hitting it from
yeah, it's not the first time. You know, before he came here, he already had allegations, and I guess just money talks. You know, his degree talks, and he's able to come here and do the same stuff. And so the reason I don't just want these 3 individuals fired, I want this to be on their record, because what's going to stop them from going somewhere else in Texas or to a different state and doing this again?
And he also mentioned the public will not know what you do not allow them to know. Yeah. Okay, I am allowing you to know, and please do something. Come forth. These kids need justice. These kids need to know that they're protected, and when they're at school, that even if they're there, they can speak up, and it's a safe ground, like it's a safe zone. And if they don't feel like that, it's because something's going on in the school that has caused them to hush up. Their favorite word is do not tattle, hush. You know, you're talking back. No, if our kids are forced to hush up, eventually they will get tired of saying the truth, and they will continue to hush. And right now, this is where we're at, because when at the beginning of the year, if bullying was going on, if she would have addressed it, my niece wouldn't have had to experience what she did.
And even right now, I posted on Facebook before I got here, any family members who have any incidents regarding sexual assault, bullying at any of the schools, and my message is already overflowing with all these people who are like, well, my kid's at Coronado and they're getting bullied. My kid's over here and we've reported it and nothing gets followed up. So right now, everybody who's messaging me or everybody who has a story, write it down, and we're going to give all these statements to the administration office. But also call this number that I gave you guys, because that's the only way anything is going to happen.
We can't shame the kids. I don't want the kids to be
Say the number again.
So the number again is 512-463-0736, and it's Representative Ken King. And so just make sure you're putting all this out there. Because I know a lot of parents said, no, they have proof, but what the school is now saying is that Miss Huey, there's been no other incidents reported all year. And all the parents are like, no, that's a lie. We have gone and I know there's reports, and then they've given me their statements. So now they're trying to lie and say that none of this has happened. So everybody just really needs to stand up and come together on this, because this is just going to keep happening. Next year it's going to be another story. Hopefully it's not worse unless we do something about this.
Did you say that they moved the children that were involved into other classrooms?
So when we went and talked to them, well, at that point, she said she couldn't comment on that. And then later Friday, they called her back and they said, we just want to let you know we're moving them. So the kids were in the class for a week and a half later after this act happened.
They only did it because we brought it up.
Yeah, because we brought it up. And not only that, they had my cousin at a table with all boys. Why and with stuff like that being done?
That did that to her.
Yeah. And so she had to face these boys again. She had to face this teacher again. She had to face, you know.
So are they going to let the parents know that these boys have been moved to new classrooms?
So there are people messaging me saying, hey, we have this new kid in the class. Does this have anything to do with that?
And so that's,
So they're not. So the school is not telling.
According to these other parents,
Yes.
that this kid is now
Yes,
moving
they're
to your
not.
class, and this is why he's moving to your
So
class.
that's
No,
what-
that's not happening.
that's what I brought up. I told him to all the parents know in the classroom what took place. And he's like, no, we just contact the parents of the kids involved. And I told him, well, if it would have happened to wouldn't have to my kid, but she was in the class, then I would want to be contacted. They have a right.
Well,
I see
also-
they're acting like if these kids belong to them and they do not get to dictate what goes on in that class or what they're allowed to, hide.
Well, not only that, the teacher's on administrative leave now because of it. And so don't you think that they should be telling the class, all the kids in the class, just letting you know there's an incident that your teacher, she's now on on leave.
Yes,
They're not
she
even
went to
telling
school.
people that she's out or why she's out. I feel like this is knowledge everybody should know.
I mean, the only thing I can say I just want to encourage the parents, sit down and talk to your kids, let them know that they're safe with you. They should be safe at school. But if they're not getting hurt at school, if anything's happening, anything that they feel uncomfortable, anything that they're making them do or that they're doing to them, bullying, because bullying escalates when you don't take care of it. I've worked for the system before, the school system. They make us go through all these classes, to keep our children safe, to be able to, how to manage a classroom, how to be their voice and stand up for them. And then when it happens, they try to quiet. They try to keep it hush hush, and it's not right. You don't get to tell us to hush when it's about our kids.
And someone told me that the next school board meeting is May 18th at 6 p.m. and on the agenda is the superintendent contract extension. So I really urge everyone to be there. It's very clear that his contract should not be extended and other stuff should happen, as far as him getting fired. But at least right here, it looks like the contract extension is going to come up to discuss. So that's also something important to know. Do you have anything to say, Esther? You said it all.